We're back on Southeast Texas Weekly to try to talk with a fellow who is pondering the idea, can you imagine, of running for the United States Senate, America's most august, elegant legislative body. His name is Dwayne Stovall. He's kind of a hometown guy, kind of in a way. You're not from too far away. I say running for Senate because he's involved now in an exploratory position. And it's time to get to know who Dwayne Stovall is. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
How long before you decide on a Senate race?
I'll formally file the end of July. Right now, by FEC standard, we are formally an exploratory committee circulating a petition around the state, garnering names. The basic principle is you can put up $5,000 and get into the race, or you can get 5,000 signatures in lieu of, and there's really no reason to put your money up if you don't have any support. So we're looking to get a feel for what the grassroots movement looks like, what the litmus test is with this petition, and it's good. So,
where are you from? Tell us about personally what you're all about.
I am from outside of Cleveland, Texas. I'm not far from Beaumont. I'm a small business owner. Been married 22 years. My wife and I have 3 children.
Liberty County guy.
Oh yeah, not far from here. Basically, got very motivated in politics in the last year.
Why?
Maybe a year and a half ago.
What put you on the track?
About 6 years ago, I got into some self-study. Got into the framers, the founders, the Constitution, what's going on in the country as a whole. And I have a particular affinity for the problem that we have with the U.S. Senate seat, because it's gotten so far detached from its original design. And what's happening is that states like Texas, who have fallen into the same trap of having U.S. senators who take on a national viewpoint of their position. Their position is supposed to look after the best interests of your state. They're not supposed to look after the best interests of the nation as a whole. So for those that don't realize it, and there's a lot of us that don't, which is terrible to say, but for the first 134 years of our existence, the state legislatures appointed the U.S. senators, and they were supposed to look after the best interest of the state. We all have congressmen. Those are the people we can call to gripe at about things that affect us individually. But the state had to have as George Mason put it, as a negative, a mechanism of defense against the federal. We've lost that completely. Basically, we don't even have a Congress anymore that's broken into bicameral 2 houses. We have one big group of 535 people that manage our lives every single day.
You're a lifetime politician, huh? You've been in politics all your life?
No, absolutely not.
Tell us about your background as far as professionally.
I've born and raised in the oil field, worked in the oil field most of my life. I've worked for Atlantic Richfield, which spun into a number of different names over the years, for about 13 or 14 years, and have a couple of businesses myself. Been in business for myself for the last 16 years. I'll tell you, I'm about to turn 48 years old, so I can clarify everybody on how old I am.
So, which brings us to the point of why now the vocation of politics.
I am a true lifelong Republican, conservative Republican. I have Jeffersonian principles. That's a little different take on sovereignty of your state, your individual rights, our rights as Texans versus what the federal government can actually do to us through the Constitution. When you have that viewpoint and you have a chance to understand what federalism actually is, which is what was based in, what the Constitution was based in, you understand that we no longer live by that. Right now we live in a nation based in socialism. So the states aren't really sovereign in any way anymore. They don't manage their own affairs. They're basically administrative units for this big national government. I would like to get into the fray and be the guy that says we're not going to expand the size and scope of the federal government anymore. It's always at the expense of the states.
And you would be running, if you run against John Cornyn, Senator John Cornyn, has John Cornyn fallen short in your eyes in that area?
In my eyes, he qualifies more as a Democrat than he does a Republican. If you look at the party that wants to raise taxes, to expand the size and the scope of the federal government, to raise the debt ceiling at every opportunity, to really get everybody enabled and in servitude to this federal government, if you vote that direction, you would have to look at his voting record over the last decade and say he's consistently voted to raise the debt ceiling, to take away your liberties, to blow up the size and the scope of the federal government. That's the polar opposite of what a conservative Republican should be supporting. And it got very tough. I voted for him.
What is it that you liked about the immigration reform bill that we've been seeing? Are there...
Nothing.
Yeah, not much you...
Nothing. No, You're talking to a guy who spent the last 32 years with illegal aliens and labor. I've worked for, with, and employed them for forever. I understand their plight. The problem now is that we have this security issue, this national security issue, where we have known bad actors who are crossing the southern border, who do not speak Spanish, who are not originating in Mexico. This is not a Mexico versus Texas, Mexico versus American issue. This is strictly a security issue. And you can't correct. I make the comparison. It's like a leaky boat that's sinking. More buckets don't fix the problem. You have to fix the leak, and then you can deal with what you have here. We can't afford to deport everybody, so we'd have to deal with something here locally. But you cannot start that conversation without securing the border. We can secure Afghanistan. We can sure secure Texas.
I'm sure we can. We've got to. Dwayne Stovall, got to run. Southeast Texas Weekly. See you next time.